I was asked on radio this week by Dan Riccio over at the Fan 590 to kind of analyze what keeps Greg Vanney up at night, as in, what's he have to worry about still with TFC doing so well, setting all kinds of records. The team's great. Everybody right now, league-wide, says TFC is by far the best team in the league. So what keeps Greg Vanney up at night? I wanted to kind of parlay that into another question for you and for us to discuss on what TFC player would Greg Vanney lose and have less of a chance of winning an MLS Cup. So who's the most important player to Greg Vanney right now in that team that they can't afford to lose heading into these playoffs, be it through an illness, suspension, injury, whatever? Who was that for you?
Who was your answer again?
Michael Bradley. It has to be Michael Bradley.
Yeah. I tend to agree with you there. I think Michael is sort of the irreplaceable man in that side, but given the way that we've seen this team evolve over the last couple of years, I think if we look back to last season and look at the MLS experience that they brought in and the difference that made for the side in terms of their success in the playoffs, then I think if you took a guy like Drew Moore out of that back line, it would make things very difficult.
Even though Jason Hernandez has stepped in and done well, maybe Nick Hagelin comes back.
You definitely have depth there, but there's something about the way that Drew brings that experience and that sort of, there's a laid back, calming forcefulness behind Drew that
and he's been there before.
He's been there before, he's
done
done
that.
it. Yeah.
I think
going to get rattled.
My answer is Michael Bradley mostly because Benoit Cheroux has been injured, and he's helping out with some of the academy teams now, coaching. Not sure if he's going to be back in time for the playoffs, although there was a small update today at training that he's coming along, but no real timeline. So if you don't have anybody to replace Michael Bradley, your captain, you're going to be in trouble. Do you have a number? Who's your number two? Let's say they keep those guys. Let's say who's your number two guy they can't afford to lose?
I think the biggest question mark after what Drew's loss would mean to the side, and of course Bradley, would be what happens without Victor Vasquez. He's been there pretty much every match this year. We've seen the difference that he's made in terms of picking teams apart and opening up that offense and spreading it out between Jovinko and Altidore and himself. And so what happens without Victor there, I think.
You know what happens?
DC?
Last year happens.
Yeah.
Last year happens in MLS Cup. So, yeah, no, I think that's a good answer. The funny thing to me right now, and I'm just to end this point, is how neither of us mentioned somebody who is almost universally thought of as the best player the league has ever seen. It's kind of funny that none of us have mentioned Sebastian Jovinko as somebody they can't afford to lose, but I guess you think with Josie there and some other strikers showing they can fill the void, but Michael Bradley and Jovinko for me.
I think Jovinko, we've sort of seen the side this year without Jovinko in there. They managed to get by, they found the goals that they needed. Now, does it make it more difficult? Of course it does. If you lose Jovinko and Altidore, all of a sudden I'm a little bit more worried.
Yeah, you're done. Well, you just lost like 80% of your goals.
Yeah. So that would be a definite concern. I think Greg will make sure that they're leaving training in separate vehicles from now on. But
eating separate meals, making sure they're drinking separate water.
Yeah. Different brands, everything. I'll keep them as far away from each other as possible.